Before we dive into our rad new ep, we want to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land on which we record, the Wurundjeri people. We pay our respects to elders past and present and to the ongoing living culture of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people.
What's up and welcome to Girls Gotta Work podcast. I'm Jordan and I'm a hot mess.
And I'm Hayleigh, a recovering awkward person.
And we are your go-to girls for talking about the rad, the bad, and the mad reality of running a business.
Go grab a coffee, kick up your feet, and enjoy today's episode.
Welcome to 2023, Hayleigh. I am so excited to be back. I feel like I am a little bit scattered after having so much time off. I'm out of practice. I don't know. I was like setting up my microphone and I was like, where do the things go? And
yeah, what goes in where?
Yeah.
What is this wizardry?
But welcome to 2023. How are you? How have you been? Talk to me.
Really good. I'm just good. I had like a really nice, quiet, calm break, which is muchly needed for the chaotic brain and workaholic that I am.
Yeah.
Crazy to think I actually had time off. Who is she?
Who is she?
She's a changed woman, which I think, next episode, I will definitely jump into this a little bit more. But yeah, what's going on with you? You want to tell me some things?
No, I don't want to tell you anything.
Oh.
Okay. As you know, I've had a crazy break in terms of I've had a fair bit of time off. I was sort of December was hectic and I was burnt out and just kind of miserable at the end of last year. So I had a really good break reflecting on where I wanted to take Scrunch, how we wanted to work in Girls Gotta Work. So Scrunch is going through some major changes, but because we have a guest today, I don't want to get sort of stuck into that instead, because we'll talk about that next week and, update all the listeners on all of what's been going on with sort of Scrunch and Hayleigh. But we had our first business retreat for Girls Gotta Work on the weekend and my God. Obviously we were there together. So, I mean, I was there for all of it, but I would love to hear your thoughts, like your 2 cents before we get stuck into our chat for today.
Yeah, I just took so much away from it. Not necessarily like all the planning I wanted to do, but just mindset stuff. I am coming into 2023 where it's like my kind of phrase for the year is my word is my law. And like trying to like work on that discipline. So getting to like chat through some of the barriers that we all have as business owners was so powerful. And I think that's more powerful than all the planning we need to do.
Totally. Yeah. I think the mindset stuff was amazing just to be able to talk through everything that's been going on. Talking to the girls about how I've been feeling and how challenging the last year has been and where I sort of want to take my business it was just nice to know that like I'm not alone and, I'm making some huge changes and all of you girls were so supportive and like just proud of me. And not that I should need external validation, but it was just really fucking nice to have.
Sometimes I do. It's okay.
It was beautiful. And I'm so excited for the next one already. Like I just came home and my cup was full and we didn't even talk about business the whole time. Like it was obviously a huge part of it, but just, I don't know, having a girls weekend to talk about all the things with the girls who get it. It was awesome. I'm already wanting to plan the next one. So maybe after we finish recording, we do that.
We shall.
So enough about us. We have obviously just spoken about our weekend and how we set ourselves up for success in 2023 on our little, girls weekend away. So today we are going to talk to you guys all about how to set yourself up for success in 2023. And we thought it was the perfect time to welcome our second guest ever to the podcast.
So today's episode, we're having a chat with the lovely Iolanthe from Ruby Assembly, author of the smash hit book, 100 Days of Brave, and all around friggin' powerhouse.
Isn't she?
Babe.
Yeah.
We run through so many amazing things. It was exactly what I needed to hear. We talk about how important niching is, how valuable worry can be, but where to put it and who to direct that up. We go through stumbling blocks, how to plan your year ahead. And she also gives us a little bit of tough love. Like some things it's like, oh, I didn't want to hear that, but we needed to hear it. So I think that was really powerful.
And ultra practical as well. Like it's giving us all the like foundations for setting yourself up for success, not just for the year, but in business in general. And oh my God, it was such a good chat. I'm so excited to share it with you all.
Roll the tape.
Yeah, let's dive in.
Let's dive in. Hi guys. So we are so excited. We've got a very, very special guest with us today. Welcome to the podcast, Iolanthe.
I am pumped for 2023 and I am pumped to be on your podcast, ladies. Let's chat.
Yay, I'm so excited to have, both of us are so excited to have you here, obviously. Excited. We're a huge fan of your book. So we sort of just want to jump right in if that suits you.
Yes, that sounds like a good idea.
All right. So hitting you with the, hard and fast first question as always. So there's a whole lot of advice and pressure online, especially on Instagram, about how you should set yourself up for success in business. There's just so much advice out there. But what do you think are the key things you need to focus on? What should business owners be worrying about nailing? What shouldn't we be worried about at all? Sort of share how you approach all of this.
I love that in your first question, Jordan, the word that you repeated most often was worry. And worry is the thing that business owners, particularly women who are hyper-focused on perfection, worry is a big part of their day in terms of wondering, am I doing the right thing? Do people think what I'm doing is silly? Who are my competitors? Just so much worry.
Guilty.
So what I would say, from having mentored people from all walks of life, but for around 14 years now, is that their biggest concern is often misplaced. So it's not that we don't need to worry about our businesses, but focusing on Instagram and looking at Insta baddies or businesses who you really have no idea of the actual success of, the actual client lists of, that isn't particularly useful energy spent.
Yeah.
And in the last few years in particular, we will all have noticed that a couple of categories on Instagram have exploded. And one of them is in the coaching space.
Oh, my goodness,
yes. There are really fabulous coaches out there, and there are really incompetent coaches out there, but they all seem to have the same visual language currently.
Yeah.
And for us as business owners, A, looking for guidance, or B, trying to build coaching businesses ourselves, it can be so confusing and demoralizing.
Yeah.
Totally.
So my suggestion is worry not about your competition. My firm belief is there is enough business for everyone. We just need to find our own specific niches. The things that people should be worried about are, do I have a saleable product?
Yeah.
So if I'm a coach, what is the thing that I can make most money from selling this month? What is that actual offering?
Yeah.
The other thing to worry about is, what is the contribution that I'm making to my niche community? So say you want to be a coach and you want to speak specifically to people who run landscaping businesses. Is the web content that you've designed and the newsletters you're creating and the podcast you might do or the reels or whatever, are they really niched into that category? Or are you speaking generally because you are worried that by speaking specifically, you're going to miss out on business?
Yeah.
So my key message, I suppose, to your audience today would be, worrying is normal, but worrying in the right spaces is where you should be putting your energy, and perhaps spend less time on Instagram and more time on defining what you can sell and who you're selling to and how you can help them.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it really hits that like stay in your own lane saying. Like I find that a lot, like just get so tunnel visioned on what you do that it doesn't even matter what everyone else is doing. And I think that's a really powerful thing that we need to be reminded about almost on the daily.
Yeah.
There's a real risk in being romanced into this idea that having a followership is where you get money from, which is untrue.
Yeah.
You just need to be speaking to your right audiences.
Yeah.
And it's also really easy to be seduced into this idea that you can kind of perhaps quit a job and you can hope that your new venture is going to support you immediately. They're really dangerous myths to be wooed into by Instagram. I mean, I myself, even though we're a really senior social media agency, I focus very little on quote unquote ROI. So for those who don't understand that, that means return on investment. Some clients or people will be really focused on, I've spent this amount of money on Facebook ads or whatever, so I should be getting X amount back in terms of clients. That's not how outreach and making people aware of your brand works. That's not what it is. So speak to your point, Hayleigh, about staying in your lane, rather than focusing on endless ROI, focus instead on niching down and really serving the people that you are saying that you are in business to do.
Yeah. And in terms of niching down, because we hear all the time, especially from those coaches that, you mentioned, is you got to find your niche, you've got to find your niche. How would you go about doing that for people that, I suppose might not know who they want to work with? They might not, say for coaches, for instance, is a great example. It's such a broad industry. Like coaches often can help anyone, like any sort of business owner. How do you go about niching down and actually finding those people you want to speak to? Because I feel like from what you're saying, that's the first step to really setting yourself up for success, is knowing who you're talking to in the first place.
In terms of niching, my advice is to go where your inclination leads you. So when I began Bravery Assembly, my agency, I focused particularly at that stage on real estate clients.
Yeah.
That's not because they were sexy or interesting. It was because actually I'd been an agent for a long time myself, and I understood the requirements and the pain points of that industry really intimately. I understood it. And really, ladies, it was just intuition.
Yeah.
But it was intuition that led me to making that decision. Yeah. So I suggest that people should follow industries that they are interested in serving. You don't actually have to know everything about the industry when you decide to focus on them either. Your client is often your best teacher because they're the ones expert in what they do. And it is, in our case, because we're in communications, we learn about what they do and we transfer that to their ideal audience in the most delectable way possible. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that we enter the stage knowing all about their software or knowing all about family law. That happens. But in the first place, I was interested in working in those spaces. So I think following your interests will both A, keep you engaged, but B, help you niche and learn, because with so much volume in the general coaching space, we're just using that as an example because there's a lot of volume at the moment in Instagram in particular. You'll find that very few people have successfully niched, and they're often just kind of selling coaching programs to other coaches, which is cannibalistic, of business models, but that's by the by. You'll find that very few have actually niched properly, and very few are actually experts, subject matter expert for that category. So before you know it, if you do niche successfully by going, hey, I want to work with dogs, or I want to work with the elderly, or I'd like to be a painter. If you focus on communicating to the people that need those services, you'll be onto a good thing.
Yeah. And sometimes I find you have to kind of try it. Like you might think it's one avenue, like niching one way, and you try it and you're like, I hate this. Now I'm going to like flip the switch and go another way. Or you don't know where that's going to take you from like starting. Like it could be like you were saying something about dogs. It's like dog. And then you could like niche down to breeds. Like from there, like you just never know.
Like all the oodles.
You could be like the chow maestro of like North Melbourne. That would be perfect. You probably make money doing that.
Yeah.
So niching is definitely where it's at, and following your heart, for want of a better word. And also embracing the fact that there's a guess and test process here.
Yeah, I love that saying. Yeah.
In the first part of 100 Days of Brave, my book, we look at business development by trimester. And in that first trimester, it's very much this idea of, it's ideation, which is thinking about the different things I can do to make money on my own. And then it's doing a bit of market testing. So vox popping people who are not your mum or your cat, vox popping about the offering.
Yeah.
And then working out whether or not there is actually demand there. And if there is, we'll go forth and prosper. But if there's not, if there's no chow chows in North Melbourne, okay, maybe there'll be like dash hounds in Fitzroy North or something.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
That's so great. To change the direction just slightly. So obviously, like you said, we're in 2023. We're very excited. I feel like a lot of us have a new breath of fresh air and we're excited for the year to come. So what is something in the new year, a big goal that you might have, or like how do you set yourself up as like a business owner, and it sounds like a multi-passionate business owner. How do you set yourself up for success? Is there something you do daily, monthly, yearly, weekly, anything? Like tell us all the things. Give us the tips.
Planning is so critical to the success of the year. And I have been planning probably for the past 7 or 8 years, with a very particular tool. And it is by somebody called Leonie Dawson. And she writes these books that are called My Shining Business.
Ooh.
Now, when you look at Leonie's content online, it has a very particular visual language. It looks arts and craftsy, and it looks deeply hippie. It looks full-blown.
We love a bit of woo-woo here.
Yeah, I was going to say that's so my vibe.
That's our vibe.
But don't be fooled by the visual language. They are demanding, hard-assed business planning guides that make you look in exquisite detail at your finances, at what worked, what didn't, where you're adequately supported, where you're not. It makes you examine your systems and processes, and it makes you get the show on the road.
Amazing.
Now, not once in 7 years have I fully finished the workbook, but that is by the by. The fact that I've done a part of it and really identified the things that are most important to me for that year has served me very well. And I'm able to see year on year that my income as a business has improved and the goals that I'm setting for myself are being achieved. For me, that particular book is most brilliant. I like to think that for some people, the 100 Days of Brave playbook, which is an adjacent product to the book, form a similar guideline. When they're trying out that ideation process where they're working out if a particular business will work well for them. So every year, my husband and I, we take 2 days and we go to the beautiful State Library in Victoria and all the drinks, all the snacks, and he does the book as well. And we both go through the process, looking at our numbers, looking at our weak spots, looking at the strengths. And this year was very clear to me what my goals or what this year needed to be about. And I'm going to tell you the phrase. It sounds harsh, but it's really true. So this year it is care less, prospect more.
Ooh. I just goosebumps. Like,
tell us more.
That's like ostensibly, I thought the word was growth, and it is, right? But I'm a highly, highly engaged business person. I'm deeply empathetic. People come to my business because they love my energy and they love me, and my team are a lot like me. We're writers, we're big consumers of media. They're like me. But my best role in the business is not to be looking at the minutiae of the client work every day. Because my team are more than able to do that, and they're indeed we're doing it most of the time. If I want all the things that I want Ruby Assembly to be, if I want another co-working space, like this is if I want to expand, I need to just be focused on growth in 2023. I need to care less about micromanaging, which I don't typically do, but I need to care less emotionally about that stuff. And I need to go, no, I'm just going to do 5 hours of prospecting today.
Wow.
So that book has helped me to clarify my needs. So I've podcasted with Leonie Dawson before. I've recommended her book in every different way over so many years. It is the most unusually powerful document. And my husband, he's a commercial lawyer. He's in a very hard-ass business. But when he does it, he also feels incredibly grateful for the process, and he has great clarity. So just because it looks hippy-dippy, disregard that. Go through the process and just feel focus.
Amazing.
Don't worry, I'm checking it out as soon as we stop recording.
We'll pop it in the show notes for any of our audience who also want to, because I think I'll be doing exactly the same thing after this.
Just to go back to your goal setting. So you do it yearly, which is super powerful. We have just done something similar for Girls Gotta Work in our businesses. Is then once you've done your planning, how often would you say that you check in or realign your goals, or just check you're on the right track? Is that something you do daily or weekly?
I would probably say that every quarter I get a kick in the butt from something. At my goals again. One of the ways that I try and stay healthy and balanced, I say as I'm coughing all over my computer screen, is every 8 weeks I have a week out of my business. And in the last few years, everything for people have been crazy. Our work-life balance has been changed because of the pandemic. I had a baby. I got divorced. I got remarried to a legend. I've had a lot of stuff going on. And as such, I stopped doing my every 8 weeks having a week out. And I found that was really tiring. It's tiring enough having a toddler, but it was really tiring not having this 8-week, 1-week balance. So I'm back in that. And I found that naturally my reconnection with purpose, I had the breathing space for that in that 5 weeks out of the business. Now, some business owners, that sounds terrifying because they're like, oh my God, the sky will fall. My clients will hate me. I'm just going to hell in a handbasket.
That is definitely my mind's narrative. So I'm listening. I like this 1 week off every 8 weeks.
But nothing will happen in that week. You'll just tell your clients that you're unavailable for that week and you outsource it or whatever your system or methodology is in your business, and you will be able to let that brain rest and be able to come back to purpose at the end of a period of rest. So I'd say that's when I am able to recommit to my purpose. But in a more general way, I quite regularly, I have 36 sets of Oracle cards. I'm way into it.
Yes.
I'm interested in the esoteric, but I'm a hard business owner. Like I'm not, I don't pretend to think that if I dream it, I'll believe it. But I do know that all those tools are just ways of being able to explore my subconscious. And those tools, like today, I've brought in a set called The Muse by Pixie Curio. And they're beautiful modern cards. And I just pull one, have a look, pop it by my computer. And I think that subconsciously there's a process that goes on there that helps me think about what I am doing with my 8 hours today. So that's my focus. So I do the planning and beginning of the year. I have a week of rest every 8 weeks. And on the daily, whether there's something that's challenging that comes up or whether I just want focus for my prospecting, I might pull a wee oracle card.
Well, I do something very similar. I do the oracle cards like daily, and then I have like affirmations on my like bathroom mirror. But I do find that just that card pulling is just, it's not something you've already pre-thought for yourself. So like it could instantly resonate with you throughout the day, but sometimes you get one, you're like, oh, what the hell? Like that doesn't resonate. But exactly like you said, if it's on your desk for the day, it's like lets you think about it in a different kind of way or subconscious way throughout the day. And you're like, oh, by the end of the day, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that did help me today, regardless if it didn't resonate first second you pulled it out.
And when you get a card that doesn't resonate or input from a client that doesn't resonate, if you feel in the pit of your gut that feedback is junk, regardless of whether it's from an oracle card or a client, that feedback is junk. And you
you gotta listen.
Being able to say that to yourself is such a part of building resilience as
and it's trusting your gut, listening to your intuition, however you want to phrase it. It's really trusting that you actually sort of do know what you're doing, and you can be confident in that, and you don't have to shy away from that. I love that, especially with client feedback. I think we all struggle with client feedback sometimes, and sort of having the permission to be like, no, you know what, respect it. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you to your face that I think it's junk, but being able to think that quietly to myself as I'm typing away, I think that's huge.
I mean, being able to A, divide yourself from the work that you deliver, but B, also be able to take client feedback with a grain of salt, regardless of the category of work we're in. I have colleagues who are at different levels of experience and different ages, and I tend to find that the longer you're doing something, the better you get at being able to manage feedback that you don't like. Care less, grow more.
Care less, grow more. I love it. Well, moving on to our next question and talking all about stumbling blocks in business. So what is a stumbling block that people find when they're starting out or when they're leveling up in business? I mean, even just feedback is one. Like a lot of people really hold on to feedback and I suppose trap themselves in the negative cycles of thought that come with that. So what are the stumbling blocks that people find, and how would you navigate those?
The biggest stumbling blocks I find from supporting people who are either in startup or who are deciding to level their business up after 2 or 3 years of proficiency, it's not investing in their brand.
Ooh.
That is often the biggest stumbling block. So much of our success in business has to do with making sure that we're speaking to the right people in the right way. And when we neglect to do things like capture ourselves with photography or videography or the written form, if we neglect to think that is important, that significantly disables your ability to succeed. Now, when we begin a business, we don't have the money for everything, but we will have money for some things. And we have to work out a hierarchy of needs in terms of helping our business to thrive. So branding is where that begins. So working with a graphic designer to help build a brand like regalia and routines. Then there's photography, and then there's all the other accoutrement like the copy for the website, the social delivery, newsletters, ebooks. When people don't choose to invest in themselves for whatever block that might be, and it's invariably almost never finances alone, there's usually other things at play there, it stops them being able to prospect successfully. And it builds more walls between them and their clients. We work with people who are in very hard business categories that typically don't do comms at all well, if at all. And for a lot of these people, and I'm talking really senior lawyers or people in government or, the people are totally normal, but the businesses they're in are really considered hard and masculine. When we push forward the agenda that we know they need in order to get more media, more success, easier quotes accepted, there's a lot of resistance there at first. They know they need their medicine, which is why they've recruited Mean Mummy Me. But that's a point of resistance. So when you first start, don't be thinking you can do everything with an iPhone, no matter what some baddie on Instagram says. You can't. And so I find that is the biggest barrier to success, and it's a really big stumbling block. And everyone needs to negotiate their way around how they'll manage their finances to achieve that, but it has to be done. It's a non-negotiable. And the other biggest stumbling block is actually, I find, a disregard for two things. One is a disregard for copyright. Obviously we all exist on digital platforms, and most new businesses will have social content as a big portion of their comms. And Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, they are machines made almost purposely for copyright infringement. When you're earning money and no longer using it for personal use, the rules around how you use those systems are very different, and they become risky. So just because you might not know someone who's received a $10,000 bill from Getty because you've used one of their images of Kim Kardashian, doesn't mean that people aren't receiving those emails, because they are. And that's a really serious risk that is a stumbling block for many business owners. On that same level of seriousness, not investing in proper contracts with a lawyer or engaging with an accountant, they are also significant stumbling blocks that you might not notice in the first year, but by 18 months in, you are going to be being pained by if you have not invested a little bit in. So those are the things that are important.
And I think Hayleigh and I can both agree, both from our own businesses and from Girls Gotta Work, those are all things that, especially sort of the more branding things, because we are, for the most part, creatives, and that's the fun things for us, we've definitely invested in. I suppose when you look at all the things like, the visual branding, the, written word, whether it's website copy or your tone of voice guidelines or whatever it is, and then as well, accountants and lawyers and and copyright, all of that, there's, quite a lot there. How do you prioritize that in terms of, if you're a startup, you're a bit strapped for cash, as we've all been there. What do you prioritize in that?
If you buy my book, 100 Days of Bravery, to working out how to prioritize and when. So that is a really detailed question, Jordan, and it depends on a variety of things, finances being one of them. But it is important to acknowledge that using a lawyer and using an accountant is far less costly than I think a lot of us believe it will be. Really, it's using a lawyer and an accountant like a prophylactic. It's like using a condom, right? You don't want the cost of a baby, or you don't need that yet. So it's a protective service that means that you are going to avoid poor client relationships or legal skirmishes around copyright of your brand and your delivery in good time. And it really shouldn't cost you, ultimately, at starting, probably no more than $1,000. And I think a lot of people think that, because of all the American legal programs we've watched, which have no bearing on commercial law.
Suits has ruined us all, really.
I think it's going to cost us like $10,000. That's really...
It's just not true. Amazing.
I would also say that, the first thing to get right is your ideation, to make sure you can actually sell the item you can sell to an audience that exists. That's the first thing. Don't quit your job. Make sure that you've ideated to the best of your ability. And once you've worked out what you want to do, then the first thing pretty much is you need to speak to your lawyer and at least say hello to an accountant so they can tell you what you need to save for them. Or, they might help set you up with a great piece of accounting like Xero, for example. And that means that you're kind of working on a stable foundation. It is so much fun to just work on the branding and that's fun. And it's relatively easy and low cost in some ways to do. But that's not the heart of securing the business.
Get your foundation set up first and then build on that with all the fun. So it's like, when you're at dinner and you eat the, veggies first because it's, boring, you need them, but, you get them out of the way first. And then, you're finished with the thing that you love the most, whether potentially bad analogy, but anyway.
The steak or the chicken or the...
I think that makes perfect sense. It's like the food triangle. And at the bottom is our lawyers and our accountants and our ideation. And then we start to move up towards the stuff that is actually working in the business, which is initially what most of us will be doing with our entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah, beautiful.
So I have loved your book, 100 Days of Brave. I think as someone who's in business, I am almost in my 3rd year. I still have learned a lot from it. But one of the things I really, obviously it's in the title as well, but one of the big themes is bravery. So I'd love to talk about, we would love to hear and our listeners would love to know Talk to us about bravery in business. Is that just like a huge overarching theme? Or is that like a value you have in business and that's why you wrote about it and that's why it's the book title? Or tell us about it.
Look, I think that running a business, it's a bit like putting an airplane in the air. Now, I'm no pilot, but I know that once there's enough momentum and there's enough way, that sucker's staying in the air.
Yeah.
And it takes bravery for takeoff. And indeed, the start is often the portion of your business where you are doing so many things for the first time, and it's scary. And we've been taught often that business is for other people who are smarter, people who are older, people who are men, people who are black, people who are straight and cis. And it's not. It is for everybody. But our internal prejudices, which are self-limiting, they play such a big role at the beginning of a new adventure. And so for me, this idea of just being able to hold on for 100 days of being brave, it doesn't matter if it takes 200 days, whatever.
Yeah.
Be able to hold on to the concept and move forward with it.
Yeah.
If you can just be brave for that period of time, you will have actually built something that you can take off
the momentum.
Has the momentum to keep you going. So I think that bravery is important in all aspects of one's life, because throughout life we have to do things that we are scared of to reach goals that we want to attain. Like, before you go on a big overseas trip, if you're lucky enough to do that, you'll feel nervous, right? So you have to be brave to finish packing and get on the plane, and then you arrive in Paris or wherever you've gone and you're feeling like, and it's exactly the same with business. When you register your Facebook business page, when you register your business and you get your piece of paper with your ABN, they are achievements that take some grit to have earned. So that's the idea of bravery. It doesn't mean that like there's this one moment where you become ultimate warrior, brave woman. It just means that you're making a decision in that moment to feel scared, but to proceed anyway, because you think it'll probably be okay. And it probably will be okay.
Yeah. It's just like a muscle. Everything you said, I'm like, tick, gold star, like yes. Because it's so hard. The thing that blocks us is like us being a little bit scared or a little bit nervous, or the fear of uncertainty and unknown, which is something I struggle with, is that uncertainty sometimes, and just flexing that brave muscle. Like I'm just like, once I'm in, I'm like, I'm good now, but it's just like taking the first step. That's so powerful.
And, our peers play a big role in our capacity for engaging in risk as well. I mean, I've kind of been self-employed for a really young age because I worked in real estate. I was an estate agent.
Yeah.
And that's being a self-employed. So I was doing that for about 6 years, and everybody hated me doing that because people hate estate agents, right?
Yeah.
But I learned a great deal in that process. It really upped my maturation really fast. Taught me a lot about money, and it made me feel safer playing with money.
Yes.
But once I began Ruby Assembly, it still took me a few years to find peers that understood the way that I was choosing to live my life, which was on my own terms, but also to be with other people who are on a similar journey. So now amongst my best friends, I have 5 or 6 women who I met at a previous co-working space. And we journeyed together and grew our businesses over a period of 4 or 5 years. We all do different things. But without a doubt, our cheering one another on and witnessing each other turn up every day and do the work, I cannot tell you how powerful that is. And that's why I've opened a co-working space, because having someone bear witness to your struggle and your joy is a privilege.
Yeah.
And co-working spaces facilitate that. So part of the bravery is also your peer group.
Yeah.
It's good to be around other people who also have that value, which you really need when you are in business.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we just got back from a little weekend away with some of our business friends as well. And we really found that we're all on the same page in terms of we can share our struggles and our successes and just really share the experience, which I mean, that's the whole reason we started Girls Gotta Work, is another place to share that experience being a business owner, and having bravery be at the center of it. Like, that's so cool. Like, you're brave to fail. Like, we talked a lot about fast failing on the weekend as well. Like, but you're brave enough to give it a go that sure, you might fail, you might succeed, but just being brave enough to do it anyway and being okay with the outcome, I suppose. Yeah, it's amazing just to be able to share that with people around you as well.
Yeah, and it makes it feel less alien. So I have peers who chose a different kind of professional trajectory. So, they might be in HR, or they might be lawyers, they may work in businesses, and their life experience is substantially different to my own. And that's why it's nice to have people who can also understand what you're going through, because your mates who might be in corporate, they probably won't. And that's cool. They're still your mates, but you need your own tribe too.
Yeah. We call it the girls who get it, and the ones who don't. So we're so here for that.
So I think to wrap up with a final question on bravery, how much of being a business owner do you think comes down to planning, and how much is about bravery and just getting stuck in?
I think that it is 85% about bravery and getting stuck in. And 15% about planning. I don't spend most of my time planning. I spend most of my time, my most productive time, in action. And that's in creation, whether it is prospecting or, I consider blog content, blogging, podcasting, whatever I'm doing, I consider those creative acts. So that is, I'm very much a person that is like, at this stage, I consider myself senior and an authority, and people refer to me because of those things I've earned. So it's not that I don't feel sometimes, doubt, but I feel like, if not me, who?
Yes, I love this saying.
Who is in a better position, given this question or position or niche or whatever, than me, to deposit something valuable? So I'm not one to spend days worrying about finalising every last finicky thing in a blog. I'm going to get it out there. I'm not one to worry about the output, because I intend on keeping on contributing, and it's more important to stay conversant with my world than to worry about perfection. I'm not particularly interested in perfection. I'm interested in the doing and and it's not to say that I don't, a large portion of 100 Days of Brave is about compliance, right? Because in order to have the confidence to go, nah, I've got this particular insurance, I'm going to have a crack at that. You need the safety. You need as many safety guards as you can put in place for yourself reasonably in order to go, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway.
It almost makes it easier to be brave, because you know that you've got a backup plan, or a safety net, as you said. Like, having all those compliance and those measures in place means you can just be like, you know what, fuck it, let's just go, let's do it, let's give it a go and see what happens, and just put yourself out there.
Like when I got my book deal last year, I knew that I wanted to do a proper launch. And you need to, as an author, in most cases, you need to buy a certain amount of your books up front as well, which is not an insignificant amount. And the publisher was talking to me on the phone, and because of the way that I had managed funds within my business, I had a reserve. And I could just say, will it be tight? Well, yeah, but can I do it? Yeah, I can. And I didn't second guess that. I was just like, I mean, in general, for better or worse, I bite off a lot and I just chew really hard. And I think that that's one of the reasons why, by saying yes to the world, I've been able to have many more good experiences than bad ones.
Amazing.
I've just got I'm speechless.
I'm glad it's been a really lovely way for me to start my business here as well. For the listeners, it's my first day in my new office, and speaking to John and Hayleigh about, how I iterate my plans for the year, and reiterating, I guess, to myself why I do what I do. It's incredibly life-affirming for me as well. So it's been a real privilege to be able to begin my year with you ladies. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Right back at you. This has, been the best way to start the year.
I've enjoyed this conversation a lot, and I'm sure our listeners definitely will. And I'm in awe. I'm going to just binge all your content. So we'll put all your things in our show notes. But before we go, do you want to shameless plug anything, everything, what's happening this year? Any other big, obviously you just said to us at the start of the episode that you've just launched your co-working space in Preston. So if you're in Preston, everyone go check her out. Go check it out. Go check the space out, sorry. But anything else you want to just shamelessly plug? Tell us.
In terms of shameless plugs, I'm a multi-business owner. And my principal business is Ruby Assembly, and we're a social media agency. But we specialise in content for professional and difficult brands. By difficult, it means they could be viewed as boring or just complex in their nature. So that's what we do. But I've just opened a business called Good Acts, goodacts.com.au, and it is it's professional co-working and offices, and we've got our HQ in Preston, but we're going to be expanding throughout Melbourne's north. And I'm also the author of a business book called 100 Days of Brave. If you visit the 100 Days of Brave website, you'll find downloadables that will help you get more value from that experience, but also a whole lot of freebies. So there's lots to enjoy there. And I have a podcast as well, which is called Sell Less, Mean More. So, ladies, I have a lot to shamelessly plug, but hopefully amongst those offerings, there'll be something that connects with the different listeners that are enjoying.
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
For sure. I feel like, all of those will be handy so people can pick and choose or just buy all of them.
Yeah, all the things.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for starting 2023 with us. And we can't wait to see what you do next.
Oh, such a pleasure to be on the show, ladies. And I hope that in 2023, you live life on your own terms.
Thank you. And that's a wrap, fam. As always, we love being in your ears, sharing the highs and lows of running a business.
If you want to keep the party going, come join us on Instagram and TikTok at Girls Gotta Work Podcast. We are a small business, so if you're feeling extra kind, we'd love it if you could like, subscribe, and leave a review on your podcast app of choice.
And this podcast was produced by Good Chat Media, so go give them a follow if you loved the app.
Bye!